Emily Carter had never been one to believe in love at first message, but when she met Jason McAllister on an online dating site, something about him drew her in. At first, it was casual texting, light, playful conversations that stretched late into the night. But soon, texts turned into long phone calls, the kind that made hours feel like minutes. For 1 to 2 months, they talked every single day, their connection growing stronger despite having never met in person. Then, one evening, Jason casually suggested, "Why don't we meet?" Emily hesitated for a second, but deep down, she had already made up her mind. That night, she got in her car and drove 45 minutes to see him. A routine that became an obsession. What started as a one-time visit quickly became a nightly routine. Every evening, Emily found herself getting in her car, making the 45-minute drive to Jason's place. Their chemistry was undeniable. Their late-night conversations turned into stolen kisses, and before long, their relationship became physical. But there was one problem. There were no labels, no promises, no real commitment. Jason never said, "You're my girlfriend." He never talked about a future together. And yet, Emily kept going back, convincing herself that it was only a matter of time before things became official. But deep down, a tiny voice in her head whispered something different. What if this wasn't leading anywhere? What if she was falling alone? Emily Carter had never felt this strongly about someone before. From the moment she met Jason McAllister, she was all in. She believed they had something real, a growing connection, something that was slowly turning into love. Every night she drove 45 minutes just to be with him, sacrificing sleep, gas money, and even time with her friends. To Emily, this wasn't just a fling. This was a relationship, or at least that's what she thought.
Jason's perspective.
Jason, on the other hand, saw things very differently. For him, this was casual. He never used the words boyfriend or girlfriend. He never mentioned commitment or exclusivity. And the most brutal truth, he admitted that he was mainly attracted to her pictures online. To Jason, Emily was fun, attractive, and available, but not someone he saw a future with. Yet he never clarified that with her. He enjoyed her company, enjoyed the attention, enjoyed the physical connection, but never once did he consider it serious. And so while Emily was falling deeper, believing they were building something real, Jason was living in the moment, unaware, or maybe unconcerned, about how much she cared. It was only a matter of time before reality hit, and when it did, it would be painful. The moment Emily Carter saw the 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test, her entire world shifted. Her hands trembled, her heart pounded, and a wave of mixed emotions crashed over her: fear, excitement, uncertainty. But through all the chaos in her mind, one thought was louder than the rest. She had to tell Jason. She hastens reaction, denial, and indifference. That evening, Emily called Jason, her hands tight around her phone, her stomach churning. When he finally picked up, she took a deep breath and said, "Jason, I'm pregnant." Silence. Then he laughed. "Yeah, right, nice joke." Emily's chest tightened. "I'm serious." Jason scoffed. "Sure you are." He didn't believe her. He thought she was making it up, or worse, that this was some desperate attempt to trap him. Frustrated, Emily snapped a picture of the positive pregnancy test and sent it to him. Minutes passed. Then came his response, cold, detached, emotionless. "Whatever you decide, just let me know. No concern, no discussion, just a single sentence." As if this wasn't his responsibility too, as if this wasn't his problem. The final cutoff. Emily stared at the screen, her vision blurring with tears. She typed out a reply, desperate for some kind of reaction, some acknowledgement that he understood the magnitude of this moment. But before she could hit send, her message bounced back. She tried calling. Blocked. Jason had cut her off completely, shutting her out the second things became too real. Emily sat there staring at her phone, feeling utterly alone. Jason had made his choice, and now she had to make hers. For 9 long months, Emily Carter carried a secret, one that grew with every passing day, with every fluttering kick, with every late-night moment of fear and uncertainty. And Jason McAllister, he had no idea. After Jason blocked her number, Emily was left alone to process everything. She had wanted to tell her family, to lean on them for support, but deep down, she couldn't bear the thought of hearing, "Not again." Emily had already been a single mother once before, raising a child without a father. The thought of doing it again, of seeing the pitying looks, the whispered judgments, made her stomach twist. So she made a choice. She told no one. She hid the pregnancy from her family, her coworkers, even her closest friends, pretending nothing had changed, all while her body grew heavier with the weight of a child whose father had abandoned them before birth. The moment of truth. Then, on a rainy evening in early spring, the baby arrived. Emily lay in the hospital bed, exhausted but overwhelmed with love, staring at the tiny face of the baby boy she had carried alone. And then, for the first time in 9 months, she thought of Jason. He had blocked her, shut her out, refused to be involved. But he still had a right to know. So with trembling fingers, she picked up her phone, dialed his number from a new line, and waited. The call rang once, twice. Then a groggy voice answered. "Hello?" Emily's breath hitched. For the first time in almost a year, she heard Jason's voice. She swallowed hard and said the words she had been waiting 9 months to say. "Jason, our son was born today." Silence. And then, what? Jason had thought she was gone from his life forever. But now, in a single phone call, his entire world had just changed. Jason McAllister stared at his phone screen, disbelief flashing across his face. A text had just come through from Emily Carter, along with a single photo, a newborn baby boy swaddled in a hospital blanket. Liam Carter, his son, or at least that's what Emily claimed. Jason squinted at the picture, his gut reaction immediate and brutal. "That's not my kid." A controversial first impression. He didn't see a resemblance. He didn't feel a connection. Instead, his first thought was that the baby didn't look like him at all. To him, Liam looked biracial, something that made him instantly suspicious. He even joked, half laughing, half accusing, "He looks like Donald Trump's kid." Emily's stomach dropped when she read the message. This wasn't doubt. This wasn't confusion. This was outright rejection. Hasha, a family divided. Jason's uncertainty spread quickly to his family. His mother studied the baby's photo for a long time before saying, "I don't know. I think he could be yours." But his aunt, always blunt, dismissed the idea outright. She needs to find the real father. The arguments grew. The questions deepened. Jason had already blocked Emily once, and now it looked like he was ready to walk away again. Emily's anguish. Emily felt rage, sadness, and exhaustion all at once. She had spent 9 months alone, carrying a child that Jason helped create, and now the first thing he did was question if Liam was even his. She had expected shock. She hadn't expected humiliation. And now it wasn't just about proving Jason wrong. It was about fighting for her son's right to be acknowledged. Emily Carter had been prepared for a fight, but nothing could have prepared her for this. Jason McAllister had doubted Liam's paternity, refused to acknowledge him, and treated Emily like she was just another mistake from his past. But now, as they stood in a courtroom, battling over child support and responsibility, Jason dropped a bombshell that left everyone speechless. The courtroom confession. The judge, a stern-looking woman in her early 60s, adjusted her glasses and turned to Jason. "Mr. McAllister," she said, her tone sharp, "you've expressed doubts about Liam's paternity. But before we move forward with DNA testing, do you have any other information the court should be aware of?" Jason cleared his throat, shifting uncomfortably in his seat. "Well," he hesitated, rubbing the back of his neck. Emily folded her arms, waiting for more excuses. Then Jason blurted out, "I've got 2 other women pregnant right now." The room went silent. The judge blinked. The court audience gasped. Even Emily, who thought she had seen the worst of Jason, felt her jaw drop. "The ultimate scandal." The judge narrowed her eyes. 2 women? Jason nodded. "Yeah." Then, before anyone could recover from the shock, he added, "And they're sisters." The courtroom erupted. Gasps, murmurs, even the bailiff raised an eyebrow. Emily's fingers dug into her chair. Was this some kind of joke? Jason, the man who had denied her child, blocked her, ignored her for months, was out here getting 2 sisters pregnant at the same time? The judge sat back in her chair, clearly trying to process the insanity of the situation. She exhaled slowly, then turned to Jason. I have been on the bench for 25 years, she said, rubbing her temples, and I have never heard anything like this. Jason shrugged, as if this were just another Tuesday. Emily's breaking point. Emily felt rage boiling in her veins. All this time, Jason had acted like she was the problem, like she was being dramatic for expecting him to step up. But he wasn't just irresponsible, he was reckless, careless, a walking disaster. And now the entire courtroom knew it. One thing was certain, Jason wasn't father material. And Emily? She was going to make damn sure Liam never grew up thinking this was normal. The courtroom held its breath as the judge unfolded the official DNA test results. Emily Carter sat rigid in her chair, her heart pounding in her ears. She had spent months fighting for Jason to take responsibility, enduring his doubts, insults, and cruel indifference. Now, the truth was about to be revealed. The judge cleared her throat. The results state that Jason McAllister is not the biological father. The words hit Emily like a freight train. Shattered assumptions. The courtroom exploded with reactions. Jason leaned back in his chair, a cocky smirk spreading across his face. Told you. His mother let out a sigh of relief. His aunt practically shouted, I knew it. She needs to find the real father. But Emily? She sat there, stunned. How could this be possible? She had no doubts that Jason was the father. After all, they had been sleeping together exclusively, hadn't they? Then, like a floodgate bursting open, memories from the past rushed back, and suddenly everything made sense. A painful realization, Emily inhaled sharply, her hands clenching in her lap. The truth was painfully clear now. Liam's real father wasn't Jason. It was her ex-boyfriend, the one she had been with right before meeting Jason. The timeline suddenly clicked. That final night with her ex. The lingering emotions before they had cut ties. She had never done the math until now. Jason's victory lap. Jason let out a mocking laugh, shaking his head. So you dragged me through all this for nothing? Emily's face burned with embarrassment. She had spent so long convinced Jason was the father, fighting for child support, demanding accountability, when he had never been responsible in the first place. And now she had to face the consequences of her mistake. She had gone to war with the wrong man. And Jason, he was walking away scot-free. The DNA test results had changed everything. Emily Carter had spent months believing Jason McAllister was the father of her son, fighting for his acknowledgement and support, only to learn that she had been wrong all along. Now she faced a new reality, one she couldn't ignore. Emily's new mission, finding Liam's real father. For Emily, the revelation wasn't just embarrassing, it was a wake-up call. Liam deserved the truth. He needed to grow up knowing his real father, not living in the shadow of a mistake. She had to track down her ex-boyfriend, the man she had been with before Jason. She had to tell him the truth, even if it was awkward, painful, or complicated. She had to make things right for Liam's future identity and emotional well-being. No more assumptions, no more mistakes. Her son deserved better. Jason's lesson, facing responsibility. For Jason, the courtroom had been a victory, but it wasn't a clean escape. Yes, he wasn't Liam's father, but his reckless lifestyle, his careless relationships, and his complete lack of responsibility had still caused damage. 2 of his girlfriends were pregnant at the same time, and they were sisters. His entire life was chaos, built on bad decisions and avoidable drama. At some point, Jason had to grow up. He needed to own up to his actions. He needed to stop treating relationships like disposable entertainment. And he needed to take responsibility for the children he actually had, because this time he got lucky. Next time, his recklessness might cost him far more than just a courtroom dispute. Final thought. Mistakes happen. People make bad choices, but when a child is involved, there is no room for denial, avoidance, or excuses. Emily had to face her own truth. And Jason, he had to finally take control of his own life before he created more messes than he could ever clean up.